Hello, I'm Lydia and you're listening to Lens from the Fens. Hello again everyone, and I'm back with another episode for Lens from the Fens. So I'm still enjoying seeing quite a few visitors to my garden and other places that are local to me. In my garden I'm still getting plenty of hedgehogs. They'll obviously be searching for more food, ready for hibernation, and as of last night I did hear another of the tawny owls that I spoke about last time, which is great because again, if they set to breed here, then it's possible that we will see young tawny owls later on into next year. As most of you will already know, I volunteer with the RSPB down at Frampton Marsh, or up at Frampton Marsh. And last time I went, I actually spotted my first little stint. They have been quite frequent around the reserve, but more towards the North Scrapes, which is closer to the sea wall, and obviously out towards the Wash. The spoonbills have still been in the area, and there was also a report of a hobby that flew over, as well as kingfisher. We have a resident whooper swan. I can't remember her name, but she does have a name, just because she's so regular now. But there are certainly a lot more of the winter geese visiting, so there have been Brent geese, and I believe a barnacle goose has been spotted as well in the last week or so. And there was also reports of bottlenose dolphins just out of the mouth of the river Witham, which again is near to where the reserve is. So that was really exciting. I obviously wasn't around to go see them myself, but one of the other wardens or volunteers, they let people know that they were in the area. So if you are local to Frampton at all, I highly encourage you to go and visit Frampton Marsh. All of our hides are open now. I will most likely be there because I am there at least once a week. And I would like to also do another walk and talk episode around Frampton as more of the winter visitors start arriving. So I think I'm going to get right into this episode because this one is quite long in terms of what I talk about and what I see. And there's also a part that I wasn't able to capture at the time, but there are other sightings that I saw not long after I left the reserve, which this time around is Deeping Lakes Nature Reserve. So stick around to the end to find out what those sightings were, and I hope you enjoy my walk and talk episode at Deeping Lakes Nature Reserve. So I've just arrived at Deeping Lakes. It's very quiet here in terms of the amount of people. There's only my car and one other car at the car park. So I'm just walking up to the reserve and it's like this. Oh, there's some long-tailed tits in the tree just above me. And there's a great tit as well. So I'm just going to see if I can get a picture. It's right above my head. There's two of them now. 3, 4. Yeah, there's quite a few. They always go in quite large groups. It's just hard to get them. Another bird with them, but I can't tell what it is. I'm just trying to follow them. Because they're usually quite curious when people are around and they'll stick around to get a decent shot, but I've got quite a lot of foliage to compete with. But they're always really nice to see. They're definitely one of my favourite of the tit family. I can hear them. I don't know if you can on the microphone. I think they've all moved up, so I'm going to walk that way. There's also dragonflies around, I've just noticed. It's very still in the air, there's hardly any wind. They look like common darters. So I've come here without really an intention of photographing anything in particular. But I've obviously been here quite a few times now, and there's always something to see. And I always think that there's something that I'm going to come back with every time I go. I know what can be here, I know what definitely is here, but you just never know what you're actually going to photograph until you get there. Some geese flying over. All the winter visitors are making their visit now. I think the long-tailed tits are in. There's a new set of bushes in front of me. I've just walked into the entrance to the reserve and I can hear them all, but they're behind the bush line. So I'm just wondering if I can get them to come forward at all. Oh, green woodpecker just flew. And long-tailed tits, they're foraging just in front of me. So I'm going to go by as calmly as possible, just so to not spook them too much, but they're definitely looking. They definitely like to play tricks on you. They'll move right at the last minute. There's some warblers in front as well. They're on the fence line. It's like they're following where the long-tailed tits are going. I think there's a blue tit as well. Yep, a blue tit. Obviously don't want to move too much closer because I'll freak them out. There's definitely warblers feeding along here. I just can't get a still enough picture of them. There's like a family of them and they're all flying together. But there's lots of activity from the warblers and from the long-tailed tits. So I think if I wait around long enough and just allow them to come forward, yeah, they definitely don't want to stay still for me. That's the difficulty I'm having right now. It looks like could be Chetty's warbler. I've heard them here before. I won't know until they call, because as some of you will know, a lot of the warblers are hard to distinguish unless you really get a good look, or if they call, which they haven't yet. But yeah, there's definitely, I think I just saw a wren moving in amongst as well. It's like quite a lot are young fledglings, so they're obviously following their parents. But yeah, there's a lot. There's the blue tit, there's long-tailed tit, there's the warblers. They're just not staying still long enough for me to get a decent picture right now. But I will wait, because you never know when they'll come forward. It's like whack-a-mole, you have to get them in time. I think I've said before, you definitely need patience with wildlife, because they'll never work with you, or they rarely work with you. And just so you know, I've got my 170 to 500 Sigma lens on. I got it second hand quite a few years ago, and I'm able to zoom out further than 250. But I think just because of the age, it struggles to take a picture anything closer than 250, which helps because I do pretty much have the lens at full zoom anyway. But it does mean I also have to do a bit of manual focus as well. It's good practice anyway. It's just so you're not fully relying on automatic focus, especially when you're working in dense foliage like I am now, because they'll always get a twig or a leaf in front or behind your subject, and it will just focus on that rather than your subject. So it's good to focus on what you want it to focus on, but then it's just remembering which way to pull the focus ring, which I always seem to forget. But I'll keep trying, and it's definitely something worth practicing as well, just practicing with your manual focusing ring. I'm surprised how calm it is. Like, there is no wind whatsoever. Might have just seen the black cap. Yes, black cap. There's a male and a female together. I don't know if they'll come any closer. There's blue tits around as well. I think there's a blackbird on the ground as well. Of course, a lot of the foraging will be happening now. Or caching. That's what jays do when they collect the acorns. Definitely looking forward to the autumn season. Some of the leaves are just starting to turn to the lovely golden colour, especially the bigger trees. And it's just it's a nice setting. Autumn is this season of change. And so a lot more animals will be out, so they'll be looking for food to stash for the winter. So there's a much better chance for you to see them because they'll be more active. They won't be raising chicks or anything like that. I can hear a bird above me, but I can't see it, which is standard. It's very quiet out on the lake. There's hardly anything around. There's some cormorants on the island. It's a cormorant. It's making its way slowly along. Of course, coming to autumn, we'll see winter visitors arriving, like the barnacle goose, dark-bellied brent, widgeon, teal. They'll be coming over. Just looking out, I think there's a little grebe out there. It's a great crested grebe. There's definitely a lot of racket going on. Deeping Lakes has a good history of the otters that hunt both within the reserve and out on the River Welland. And just from where I'm looking, there's some good slips that come out from the lake water onto land. So it's possible that otters are using that, which is still a good sign that they're getting food here or they're able to live here. So That's always nice to see. It's nice to know that nature still has a good place. Despite all that's going on, I know that there's a lot of work being put into looking after not just our local wildlife, but worldwide as well. Especially going by the latest figures that about 68% of all wildlife has declined since about 1978, I think it is. And it is our fault. But there is also a way to help keep nature alive, pretty much. There's always that hope. And there's a lot of people that are wanting to see that hope and do the right thing. So even when it's just local wildlife, you can still appreciate that they'll be here as long as we can still protect what is rightfully theirs. So I'm out of the main reserve now, as I thought there wasn't any deer around, because another person walked through. I'm just coming up to the riverside now. Little egret's just flown by. There's 2 egrets. Looks like they cleared a lot of the foliage away, so I'm actually able to walk across there without getting caught up in the stinging nettles. Birds have just flown off. It's gone quite overcast now, so the weather's still not terrible. The wind seems to have picked up a bit. I'm just seeing more hen on the other side of the river feeding, so let's see if I can get a picture done. Quite a few people along here now, so I don't know if anything else is going to come out in the meantime. There's some mute swans up here, they're always a nice subject to photograph. Looks like there's a few black-headed gulls, so I'm going to have a look at them. Possible there's another moorhen feeding. There's a gull coming, see if I can get a picture. Nice flyby. There's a black-headed gull in there, transitioning from its summer plumage. I think there's some little grebes just up ahead, but they're more likely to dive before I get close to them for a good picture. It's so tranquil out here. It's bizarre. But it's really nice at the same time. It's nice to just get away from the hustle and bustle of every day and just enjoy whatever nature has to offer. So there's a baby moorhen. He's definitely a brave one. I can see his feet as well. That's really nice. Oh, there we go. His parents must have been on the other side. Yeah, little grebes have already gone off. Which is no surprise to me, but that was really nice. The moorhen chick was it was up on a log, so I could see all of its feet. Little grebe just popped out, and it's popped that down. Let's see if it comes up in the same spot. I'm sitting down on the ground, by the way. I'm not standing up or anything. I just had some people walk by me, but it's worth just waiting around or what could potentially pop up. Like that little grebe.
doesn't look like it'll come up again. I can't see any bubbles near where it dove, so it's possible it moved elsewhere. Looks like there's more moorhen chicks as I walk up along the riverbank again. Yeah, there's a moorhen just in front of the reeds. Sounds like there's chicks with it as well. I'm just going to get down again, because they're very close by yet again. I wonder if they'll come out. The chicks just come out. There's quite a few reeds in the way, so I'm struggling to get a clear shot. Just without having to stand up. So there's 2 chicks with it. 3. 4. And me further in the reeds now, but that was really nice.
So as you heard towards the end of the clip, it was a family of moorhens where there were 4 chicks in total, and it was really nice. I got some nice shots out of it with the chicks in amongst the reeds, and it was just a very nice setting, and I assumed that was the last thing that I would report while I was at the reserve. But as I was leaving, I joined onto the main road, which is basically a back road, and there are some old, not oak trees, I think they're a different type of tree, but they're quite old, and it's mostly just trunks that are left. But I was driving by it slowly as I pulled out of the reserve, and I noticed a weird shape on top of one of the branches, and I thought to myself, that doesn't look like a branch to me. So I pulled off on the side of the road. I reversed a bit because I was obviously driven by it by that time, I realised. And I got the lens out, I got my 100 to 400 lens out, and it was a little owl, which I hadn't seen before in the wild before then. So I was really happy that I spotted it just as a brief glance and then chose to stop to see what it actually was. So the image that will most likely be next up on my social media when I post this episode will be the little owl that I saw from my car. So that was a really nice highlight to end my trip out. But then as I was further driving back home, I drove back along the River Welland, and I was looking out just briefly along the riverbank, because there's usually things like the great crested grebe, where the family's still around. There's a family of 4 chicks still there. And there's also grey herons, the common terns would have been there earlier in the year. And then I saw a big white bird fly up on the riverbank side opposite me, and it was a great white egret, which again, a bird that I had rarely seen. I think the first time I saw it, it was way off in the distance near Frampton Marsh, last year I think that was. So this was the first time me seeing the bird so up close. So again, I pulled over safely, I got my camera out, and yeah, I just saw this great white egret trying to socialise with a little egret. It was trying to fly off around it. I don't know if it was scaring it off. It didn't look aggressive, but it was sort of flying around near where the little egret was and just chilling in amongst the reeds. So yeah, as well as the moorhen family that I photographed, the little owl and the great white egret was, yeah, just really nice to see at the end. So when I actually got back to edit this episode of what I got while I was out of the reserve, I realised that I recorded over an hour and a half's worth of sound. So I cut it down as much as I could while still providing a sense of what I saw while I was there and thoughts that go through my head. I think this is one of the main positive things that I see while doing this podcast. I get to talk about my thoughts and my feelings as well as doing my photography, while you're there with me. So I've really enjoyed this process since the start of lockdown pretty much, and I would like to see it continue past that. If there is a post-COVID, obviously there have been new restrictions coming in terms of how many people we can socialise with, but I would like to see this project still ongoing, continuing it as long as possible, really. I don't see an end to it right now, and there's a lot more stories that I want to record, obviously more walk and talks, as I've mentioned before. So there's a lot of future planning that I have in my head right now, and I would like you and other listeners to be there too. So again, I'm on social media, I'm on Facebook, I'm on Instagram, I'm on Twitter. You can search for Pinfold Photographic to see my latest posts, and also to view my website for my portfolio, links to my blog, which I have recently posted a short story on what occurred when I took a particular picture, one of my favourite pictures. So you're more than welcome to share this round. If you want to give me feedback at all, you can private message me or tell me in person if I happen to meet one of you outdoors. But again, thank you very much for listening, and I will speak to you all again very soon. Bye. My podcast cover shows my own image created using Canva. The theme music is provided by Purple Planet Music. Check out their royalty-free music at purple-planet.com.